Good morning and welcome to Eagle Technology's session for the STEM Careers Fest 2022. Without further ado, we'll just crack into it. I'll pass it over to Claire from Eagle Technology.
Hi everybody. As Aaron mentioned, my name's Claire, and today I have with me a couple of relatively recent graduates who are working for Eagle Technology. So I have Kelly and I have Alice with me. And the plan for the day is, or for the session, is for me to just have a bit of a talk about who Eagle Technology are, what we do, and then we've got some questions for Kelly and Alice to talk a little bit about their experience with Eagle as recent graduates. And then we're going to open up the floor so you guys can ask some questions as well. So that's the plan. But first, let me introduce myself. And when we come to talking to Kelly and Alice, I'll get them to do some introductions of themselves as well. So my name is Claire Thurlow. I work for Eagle Technology in the GIS area, and I work as the Training and Education Manager. So that means that I make sure that our customers can use our software, and also that education institutions such as the university are able to teach GIS as part of their curriculum as well. And I'm based in Wellington. We do have an office in Auckland, Wellington and Christchurch, and then we have a number of people working remotely as well from different parts of New Zealand. So who are Eagle Technology? We are actually a computer technology company, and we have been in existence since 1969. So we're a relatively old computer technology company, which is actually kind of unusual for computer technology companies. We have a focus on systems integration and information management. And in that information management sort of area, one of the big things that we do is we sell geographic information systems and support those systems, be that from a managed services environment where we install and manage an installation of GIS, or whether it's from a training perspective and helping customers learn how to use our software. And as part of that geographic information systems role in information management, we are actually the Esri official distributor for New Zealand and the South Pacific. So what does that mean? That means that we sell a particular piece of software called ArcGIS, which I'm going to introduce you to a little bit later on in this presentation. And we sell that and support that in New Zealand and the South Pacific. So let me go into a little bit about who Esri are, just as their representative in New Zealand. We need to obviously talk a little bit about what they do. So Esri are based out of the States. They develop a piece of software called ArcGIS, which is quite a broad system. It has the ability to install applications on desktop, but also it has a bunch of programs that enable the server realm and I guess the enterprise realm of GIS. And as I mentioned, it's developed in the States. We sell it. We also develop on top of it as part of our organization as well. And we also here, I guess, at the University Careers Hub as well to represent our industry, which is called the Spatial Industry, and enabling people to work in that industry too. So let's jump into what Geospatial GIS actually is. So GIS stands for Geographic Information Systems. And I've got a little video that I'm going to try and play to enable us to learn a little bit more about what GIS actually is. So let me bring up that video.
GIS stands for Geographic Information System. Using computer hardware, software, and a ton of raw data, we can explore the fundamental principle of geography, that location is important in people's lives. Using GIS, we can view, understand, question, visualize, and interpret data in visual ways that reveal relationships and patterns, which allows us to make better decisions. For example, A meteorologist might study the paths of hurricanes to predict where and when they might occur in the future. A city planner can choose the best location for a new park or hospital, ensuring that they are built in the place where they're needed the most. GIS is essential to understanding what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen in geographic space. Geographic understanding brings wisdom, and with wisdom, we can make better decisions to create a brighter future.
So GIS really is all about bringing location and what we see in the real world into our computers and trying to, I guess, manage, analyze, and ask questions of that location information. So you can see just here some examples of some location information that has been brought into the computer. So in the middle, we actually have a digital twin of a computing university's site. And you can see that it is a 3D representation of buildings in a particular area. And so some of our local councils and some of our engineering companies are actually spending a lot of time creating these digital twins of urban areas in and around New Zealand. And other ways that we can create digital twins, obviously the urban area is easy to create a digital twin for, but we are seeing more and more people looking at the world in the rural areas, in national parks, for example, in 3D for a digital twin type of thing to help manage those areas. And on top of that, I guess that covers the urban areas and the rural areas as far as natural abilities are concerned, and being able to map those and represent them in the 3D realm. But you'll also notice the left-hand picture has got some beautiful colors on there, and that's actually representing demographic information based on Census New Zealand information for the entirety of New Zealand. We're obviously zoomed in here to a part of New Zealand to see what we can see around demographics in an area. So that would be population figures. It would be things like, could be things like income. It could be things like religion. It could be other bits and pieces that you get asked during a census. And so our last census figures are shown here in the map. So when we are bringing what we see in the real world into the computer, we're doing it so that we can actually analyze information and really map all sorts of data. And our spatial industry does that really well. They're bringing location or the power of where into the computer to be able to do that analysis. So for example, you might have a geological company such as GNS Science as a Crown Research Institute. They might be wanting to map the geology of New Zealand and be able to see patterns in that geology based on what they're capturing inside of the GIS. They might be an engineering geologist and they're looking for a solution to maybe a landslide problem or a silting up problem in a harbour. What could they do from a geological perspective to prevent that from happening, or to know where certain events might happen based on an earthquake or lots of rain? Other things that we have seen customers doing in our spatial industry is looking at weather events and seeing how they're going to affect areas, looking at the change of temperatures and change of sea level rise, those sorts of things. So things around climate change and trying to model what potentially could happen, but also starting to think about how do we try and implement things to change what's happening as far as our climate change is concerning. Let's reduce what's happening so potentially we don't see as bigger impact. And I don't know if you saw recently that there was going to be more of an impact on climate change in New Zealand because our land is actually sinking in certain areas of New Zealand while the sea is rising. So there was lots of GIS involved in trying to model what that impact actually would be. Other things that we see happen, obviously all of our councils are using GIS in and around their areas, and so they're using it to manage assets and also to plan how a city might develop or how a region might develop, and looking at things like, if we're going to put a new building in, what is the effect of that building going to be on the surrounding areas? Let's look at where we could put in some more green space, for example, might be something that a council is looking at as well. Or let's put in more public transport. So maybe we model how commuters are moving and what's the ideal as far as public transport is concerned. So all of those things can be assisted by using GIS. Now, you do have some papers in GIS available at the university. They mainly run through the engineering school, the forestry school, and also the geography department. So you may have already been in contact with GIS. I'm going to just flip over these next couple of things. I did have a couple of extra videos that I wanted to show you in a website about what GIS is all about, but I can just drop those in the chat when I have a moment, so you can have a look at it, because I really want to get on to talking to Kelly and Alice to give them so they can share a little bit of their experience at Eagle Technology. But before I do, ArcGIS is the product that we sell, and it is probably the most commonly used GIS product in New Zealand is ArcGIS. So any organisation that you go to that are using GIS will probably be using ArcGIS in New Zealand. And if you want to know a little bit more about ArcGIS, or if you haven't had an experience with it already at university, there is a really cool book, ebook that's available called the ArcGIS book, and it has 10 big ideas on how you can actually apply ArcGIS specifically, but GIS in general as well, to the science of where. So our internship program, we do have an internship program, and we also have a graduate program. And so we're doing a little bit of transitioning in how we speak about things and how we actually structure these programs at the moment. So our internship program is actually our summer internship program. And we have, usually it's been in the past, it's only been one student who comes in over summer and does some work with us and learns a little bit more about GIS and the hands-on application of GIS and how we use it inside of our organisation. And so the last couple of years, they have been science students who've come in specifically mostly with a focus on geography, but being really enthusiastic about learning more about how GIS can help them in their careers. So that's our internship program. As I mentioned, we've also got a graduate program. And for that graduate program, it is obviously for when you've finished your studies, and you can come in, and to start with, you have a 12-month contract with us. And that starts off with 6 weeks of really intensive learning about ArcGIS and the platform that we use. And then you go and work with different teams inside of our organisation to learn a little bit about what we do as an organisation. So it might be our support team who make sure that software works correctly for our customers. It might be with our technical solutions team, which works through research and development inside of ArcGIS and helps customers see the potential in GIS. Or it could be with our professional services teams, which are our consultants. It's where our developers sit. It's where our architects sit, our computer architects sit. It's where our network guys sit. And people who sit in the professional services area do tend to have a computer science background or a highly technical science background. So used to working with the details of a piece of technology. So they might have some Python experience, or they might have some JavaScript experience, or as I said, some architectural experience and working with information systems. And that intern program also has the option to extend after that first year. If you want it as the graduate, and if you have the skills that Eagle requires, we can extend that graduate program for another 12 months on top of the original 12-month contract. So that is obviously a paid position, that graduate position, and that is sort of what Kelly and Alice have been working through. As I said, we've been going through a bit of a transition in our thinking of how we work these programs. So both Alice and Kelly have come through in the transition process, so it's slightly different to what a graduate would see if they were to start that program now. So GallupX, which Kelly and Alice might mention, is that 6-week intensive that I was talking about that starts right up in the front of your graduate program. So I'd like to turn over to Alice and Kelly now. So I might get them to introduce themselves. And then I've got some questions that I'd like to actually ask them. And then we will open up the floor to you guys to ask some questions as well. So Alice, maybe you start us off since your picture's up on the shared screen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alice. I've been at Eagle for coming up to 2 years now, and I work in the technical support team.
Great. And I'll bring up Kelly's picture on the screen as well now. So Kelly, maybe you can do your introductions as well.
Hello, I'm Kelly. I've been Eagle for about 1 year now, and I work in the support team and also content team.
Cool. Thanks, Kelly. I'm going to stop sharing and we're just going to have a look at some of those questions that we had for you. So maybe I start again with Alice and just ask you what your qualification is as far as a university qualification.
I've got a BSc in Geography with a minor in GIS.
Cool. And Kelly, what about you? What's your qualification?
So I graduated with Bachelor of Applied Science, major in GIS and a minor in mathematics.
Okay, so you can see that there's a little theme going on for Alice and Kelly as far as their qualifications are concerned. They do have some GIS in their qualifications, but it's not required for as far as qualifications are concerned to be able to work at Eagle. But they've both got well, applied science and a science degree. So I've got the same as well. Actually, I've got a science degree majoring in geology, although mine's quite a bit older than these guys. What about, Kelly, we continue with you and just ask, what made you apply for a job at Eagle Technology?
So Eagle is a well-known GIS company in New Zealand to me. I heard about Eagle since the first day and the first lecture when I was in university. And Alice, we've been friends when I was in uni. So when I applied for my internship, she's already in Eagle for a few months. And Eagle had GallupX course to give a proper training to accelerate and help me to kick into the career. So enhance my GIS skills. So that's why I've chosen Eagle.
Cool, thanks, Kelly. What about you, Alice? Why did you choose to apply to Eagle?
So when I was at university, same thing. I heard about Eagle through lecturers and our lectures. I knew they had a very good reputation, and that as an intern, you were treated very well with training. And I just wanted to be somewhere that I knew would help me develop my career.
Cool, fantastic. Now thinking about a typical day, Alice, what would a typical day be for you at the moment? If there is anything such thing as a typical day.
So I sort of have 3 different things that I do. I work in support, and then I work in school support, and I work in content. So it's a bit of a mixture for me during the week, but my most common thing would be answering support calls. So working on anything that comes in from any of the Esri GIS users in New Zealand. If they've got technical issues with the technology, if they just need help with a workflow, I'll spend time doing that. If it's with GIS in schools, I'll maybe set up an ArcGIS online account for them, make sure that the students have access to the correct tools. And if it's in content, I might spend time creating a base map or a ready-to-use layer for our customers.
Cool. Thanks, Alice. And Kelly, what would your typical day look like?
I also work in the support team to help customers to resolve issues of the Esri products across these different platforms. And now I mainly deal with ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Pro issues. And I also work in the content team, mainly focus on developing Python, more specifically ArcPy scripts for cool 3D buildings for New Zealand-based map.
Okay, so you've heard Kelly mention Python. So Kelly is one of our Python experts at Eagle. And so she does actually utilize those skills that she learned in her applied science degree quite heavily in that content area when it comes to Python. Now, Kelly, I'm going to continue with you with the next question. What do you like best about working at Eagle Technology?
The work culture. So the work culture in Eagle is very good. Colleagues are very helpful and everybody is very responsible to their work. And if you can well manage your time, you are always encouraged learning the topics that you are interested in. And also Eagle provides lots of training opportunities. So we always have different webinars or courses that allows you to jump in if time suits you.
Great. And I know, Kelly, you're just starting to get prepared to do your technical certification as well, aren't you, in a particular piece of software? What sort of things does that involve and why are you doing your certification? So that's a bit of a question I didn't have in the list.
So that's enhance my GIS skills in the ArcGIS Pro in a specific software. So you can like improve your skills, and also it's a way to like prove that you have the skill, you have the ability to do this.
Yeah, cool. And there are lots of certifications available in that Esri space that you can look at. Kelly's doing one of the more complicated ones, but there are some foundational ones as well that you can do straight out of university. Alice, what about you? What do you like about working with Eagle Technology?
I find every person I work with at Eagle incredibly supportive. So anytime there's ever something I don't know how to do or something that's I haven't come across before, any person I ask will always take the time out of their day to help me. I've never had anybody say, no, I don't have time right now, which is very good for somebody that's new and doesn't really know all the time what they're doing. I also, like Kelly, find the work culture really good. Everybody's very friendly, everybody gets along really well. There's a lot of young people too, which makes it a really nice transition from university to working life. I really enjoy the work from home / work from the office arrangement that there is. As long as you're getting your work done, there's not too much pressure to be in the office or at home. It's really up to you how you prefer to work. And as Kelly said, there's always training opportunities. Any training course that comes up, because we run them realistically, you can just say, hey, can I please go on that? And I've never been told no, which is really good for learning.
Yeah. Cool, thanks, Alice. And Alice has actually just got part of a technical certification actually recently as well. So Alice is training up to become an instructor for some of our courses at Eagle, and so she needs to get a technical instructor certification, and so she's just passed the first part of getting that technical certification. So well done for that, Alice. If you, Alice, could tell your university self one thing, what would it be?
I think that don't stress so much about your marks. Most employers don't actually look at them. They look more for your enthusiasm, your passion, your willingness to learn and to work hard. So yes, it's important to pass your grades and to understand your work, but it's not the end of the world if you get a B or a C as opposed to an A.
Cool, thanks, Alice. I totally agree with that. As somebody who looks at graduates and people coming through, really do we actually look at the marks that you get. We are looking, as Alice said, for a passion for GIS or technology. And so that you've passed is great. But as Alice said, we very rarely actually look at the grade that you got to pass. So what about yourself, Kelly? What would be your one bit of advice to your university self?
I would tell my young self, if you find GIS is what you are really interested in, and keep passionate, build your skills as much as possible in the uni, and be confident, get things prepared before any chance open to you.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, guys. I think it's about time that we open up to questions from you guys on the call as well. So if you want to, you feel free to do it verbally, but you can also drop them in the chat if you want to as well.
Hi, so I'm a spatial data science student. I was wondering what the opportunities were, like kind of what were you looking for, or the main kind of like what the ideal features of an intern would be, of a candidate.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Ryan. So yeah, data science is actually, I guess, a growing industry for spatial as well as other areas as well. And I guess we add in that location component of data science so that everything has a location, and let's look at the patterns in those locations as well as just the physical numbers that we might see when it comes to data science. So if you were to apply for a role at Eagle, it would be good to see that you have an interest in GIS. It doesn't necessarily mean that you've done a paper at university in GIS, but you might have done something around massive online open course or one of the Esri learning opportunities that they have available on their website. So something that says, actually, well, I might not have necessarily studied GIS specifically at university, I do know what it is, and I am interested in pursuing that. Because as a data scientist, you actually have you've learnt a lot of the technical ways of thinking that we're interested in, but we'd like to see that geography, that geographic component, the interest in that geographic component coming through as well.
All right, thank you.
Question that I often get asked is from computer science graduates as well, you know, what sort of things can we do to help with that process of being employed by Eagle? And as I mentioned, we do have a professional services part of our business, and we have a lot of consultants who work for that part of the business, and they do tend to come more from a computer science graduate sort of background, and they have expressed an interest in geography, so they have that same sort of interest that I've mentioned with the MOOCs, or done a course in geography, or GIS, so they know what it is, but they might be passionate about Python, for example, and so that passion comes across, and we go, actually, that's something that we can really use in our area of expertise, or they might be interested in networks and the enterprise side of things, how things work on servers and those sorts of things. And as I said, so how our professional services area works is our customers come to us and ask us to do projects for them. So we need a variety of knowledge across the entire platform. Some of it might be server knowledge, some of it might be how do we architecture things, so make sure that things actually work across a physical system, be that in the cloud or actually physically on somebody's site as well. So a little bit of knowledge of GIS is always good, but those other skills that you get in a computer science degree can be utilised as well when it comes to a graduate role at Eagle. And I think Ryan, I know Ryan, you are still with us. for a grad role, do you have to have done your internship with Eagle? No, you don't. So you don't have to have done a summer internship with Eagle. So both Kelly and Alice mentioned that they had been interns. So we're just changing the wording slightly of that. So that's actually a graduate role now. And so as a graduate, you can come straight out of university, having not done an internship over summer with us, and you potentially would be employed in that grad role. It's really that interest in GIS that we are looking for, not necessarily having pursued it in an internship at Eagle or any other GIS people. There are other organisations that offer GIS internships as well, not having done one of those, but really just showing that passion to want to come and combine technology and geography together.
Just to follow up on that question, when should we be on the lookout for internship opportunities at Eagle? So when's like kind of the details come out?
Yeah, so I'll go with our graduate program first, because that's coming up. So in the next month, we are actually releasing our adverts for our graduate role to start at the start of next year. So quite early for that, but just keep an eye over the next month for release of that. And that will come through the talent site through the university. It will be there. For our internships, obviously the summer internships. So we're looking at, that time when you're just finishing for the year. That's usually when we start looking for our summer graduate interns. Sorry, I'm getting my wording confused now. So our summer interns, we're looking sort of in that November-ish, October, November-ish sort of time for that summer internship role. And just to let you know that our summer intern for this last year was actually based in our Christchurch office, so and was a Canterbury University student. So she's gone back to university obviously this year, and she did, what did she work in? She was from a geography background, so she was working with some of we had a whole bunch of aerial photography come in, so she was working in that imagery sort of area with base maps and helping to, I guess, help our customers to understand that new imagery and also LiDAR that had come through at the time. So that was her big project for summer. Great question though. We also have graduates that start in the middle of the year. So we have actually just started interviews for those. So we usually advertise in about March, April for those graduates that start in the middle of the year. So those graduates will be starting in July with us. And just, I guess, to continue on with the theme of what do our graduates do with us? So for our summer interns, you won't be left to sail on your own. We do try and support our summer internships really well with assistance on how to do things, because obviously you may only be, say, in your second year of study. So we're not expecting you to know everything. We will work alongside you to help you to learn what you need to do the little projects that we have set up for you. Same goes for a graduate. You're not expected to know everything. And even after 15 years at Eagle Technology, I don't know everything. So you're always learning and asking questions and things. So we do try and really support our graduates through that program. And I hope you've heard that through both what Alice and Kelly said about being able to go on training courses if you want to, being able to ask people questions and get answers to those questions, and not being told, I'm too busy at this time, come back next week. So we do try to build that sort of collaborative learning and making sure that people are developing as well into the roles that they're taking and potentially further future roles as well that they might want to take up at Eagle too. Alice, Kelly, do you guys have anything else that you sort of like to share with the students that we've got online, or the ones that might hear this recording later on? Maybe it's, what's the most favorite thing that you've ever done while you've been employed at Eagle?
Is that work related or just work people?
Both. It can be both.
One of the sort of work related but not working things that was great was we were all, a group of us were flown up to Auckland, and we got to go on the company yacht for a day, all paid for, and we were still paid our regular wage for the day, which was great. And then I think my favorite thing I've done working at Eagle was probably working on the bathymetry base map model for the New Zealand base map. So New Zealand, for our imagery base map, it used to just be the New Zealand imagery floating on a background of white. And then when I was in my when I was an intern but was now a graduate, I spent time building a bathymetry base map, which makes it look a lot nicer.
Yeah, so it sort of put that context into the terrestrial area, didn't it? So you now got the sea with the levels and the depths of it. So it looks fantastic, actually. Thanks, Alice. What about you, Kelly? What was probably the best thing that you've ever done while you've been at Eagle?
Well, I like Python since I was in uni. So the best thing I think is I can continue like work with my Python projects, and also work on very cool 3D buildings, New Zealand base map. And this is turning the a very impossible thing to a possible. So I like this very much.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Kelly. And you just reminded me of one of our other graduates who didn't come through a graduate program, was just employed as a developer, and he very much coming, I guess, back to that sort of data science area. Data science and AI was one of his areas of interest, and he actually has written a model that will help train, I think he called him Bob, train a little bot to go off and figure out for LiDAR information in New Zealand, so that's light detection radar, to actually identify individual New Zealand species in trees from that information. So he's put together some AI basically to actually do that as part of his work at Eagle, which is, I believe it's actually just going to be released shortly, his work that he's been doing. He wasn't quite happy with the accuracy that he was getting, so he was working on that. I thought at about 98% accuracy it was probably accurate enough, but he wanted to get it higher than that. So that's another cool project that one of our graduates has been working on. Which also brings me to a point about, often, Kelly, you mentioned Python. Often people ask what language is the best language they could be learning at university to use with ArcGIS. And if you are looking for a specific language, Python would probably be the one that I would choose, because it's not only able to be used in ArcGIS, it can be used in other products as well. So it's quite a diverse language. If you're more interested in sort of the web development area, I would recommend JavaScript probably being the language to start to dig into for that web development side of things as well. Oh, I also said that I was going to put a couple of URLs into the chat window for those videos that I didn't play. So let me just go off and get those for you so I can drop them in. So this first one that I'm dropping in, this will be for see what others can't little video. So I've just closed the chat window. I want to open that up. And I was also going to pop in the What is GIS website as well. So let me just do that. So I don't know, Aaron, if we have the ability to add that into the description, maybe for the recording, so other people can grab those as well in the future. Cool, fantastic.
How are we going for questions here? Anyone got any more final things to add? Maybe if not, then maybe we'll leave it here. It's coming up for quarter to 10 anyway.
Cool.
Thank you.
I was just going to say, fantastic questions for those of you who did ask questions. I really appreciate that the thought that went into them.
Well, thank you very much, Eagle, for presenting and having you on to the students this morning. I really appreciate you taking the time. And again, thank you to the students who stood up and engaged and asked these questions.
Oh, well, actually, one last question for Claire. Do you know Nathan? Is it Nathan Hazelwood?
Yes,
Hazelwood?
do.
Yeah.
Yes. He's one of our project
Business.
managers.
Okay.
Yep. But well, actually, he's just changed role, so he's our business. What's his role now, guys? Business developer. I can't remember what his official name is. Have you had some dealings with him, Nathan?
Yeah,
sorry,
for there's
Samuel.
just like a GIS Facebook group, and he
Okay,
often contributes a lot. So
yeah. Hey, actually, that's a really good point. If you are interested in going into the spatial industry, looking at GIS, there is an emerging spatial professionals Facebook group that you can join. So I would recommend doing that. So it keeps you just, I guess, a little bit connected to the industry. So if you're wanting to go out as a graduate, they have events and networking events and things like that around New Zealand and online. The other place that might be useful to get connected in on Facebook, there is a GIS Geeks group as well, New Zealand GIS Geeks group, which might be a place to get connected to the industry. And also coming up, we have our New Zealand Esri User Group conference. And so that's in Christchurch, actually, in September. So it might be something just to keep an eye on, adverts for and see if it would be something that you could consider going to or attending as well. And they do tend to have an emerging spatial professional event that sort of runs at the same time as conference as well. So that's the first full week of September. The 6th to the 8th of September is when that conference is going to go ahead. As I said, it's in Christchurch this year, so it's just down the road from you guys. It's at the new convention centre.
Oh.
Cool. Well, I'll stop the recording.